Hey, 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 welcome to this week's episode of Insights and Hindsight, the podcast, where every week we dive into stories, mine and yours, to unwrap the wisdom hiding in our yesterdays. I'm your host, Dawn, and I am here to inspire and motivate you to the best of my ability while coming from the understanding that perfection does not exist. Welcome back to this week's episode, where we are answering questions that you listeners have submitted. And I always say we, as if it's not just me. I don't know why I do that. That's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. But I have received 21 questions. 21. Can you do something for me? Anyway, who else has that? Like, you hear the number 21, you automatically have to sing that song. I know I can't be alone. So I'm going to break down each question. Some of them are repeats. So we're going to do 4 questions a week for the next 3 weeks to tackle the end of November. And then December, we're going to come back and dive into more stories and more hindsight and lessons and growth. I hopefully had a visual set up by then. It's been a very busy November. A lot of life has been happening and we're just trying to navigate our way through it. So before we get started, we have to hear a word from our amazing sponsor to get you guys a new job for the new year. So let's take a moment and hear from our sponsor, the Achievement Agency. Hello, friends. Today I have some super exciting news. We have our first sponsor. Our awesome sponsor, the Achievement Agency, is here to help single moms who are looking for jobs. They have this cool service called the Resume Revamp that can help make your resume shine. So imagine having a best friend, an auntie, a coworker, whoever that knows exactly what a job wants at the company that you're wanting to apply for, and they can put some razzle dazzle on your resume to make it perfect for that particular position. They find the magic words to help your resume get noticed by the applicant tracking system, which is basically the AI that screens your resume before it gets to an actual human being. Magnify your resume to skip over the ATS, the applicant tracking system, to get it in front of the human, and then the human can make the decision. The Resume Revamp, they make sure that your resume tells a story in a way that will catch the eye of the people who are hiring, so it doesn't get lost in the pile with a bunch of others. And the best part, it's totally free for those who qualify. You answer a couple of questions. It's probably less than 7 questions to see if you qualify for this free program. Even if you don't qualify for the free program, they'll still offer your service free for like a minimal amount of money. If you're a single mom and you need a little help, if you're unemployed, underemployed, looking to scale your career, if you need help with a resume, reach out to the Achievement Agency. Sign up for their Resume Revamp. They have done this in the past and have had 100% success and satisfaction with those who have gone through this program before. If you need to go back and look, you can take a look at their Instagram page. And for those of us who are challenged when it comes to spelling, I look for the red squiggly line when I'm typing. They're at TheAchievementAgency at the Achievement Agency on Instagram. You can email them at help@theachievementagency.org. HELP@theachievementagency.org. With that, everyone needs a little help these days. The new year is coming. We want to get out of these raggedy shots that we have. We're trying to get the bigger, better things. We're trying to get bigger and better bags. So let the Achievement Agency help you get out of whatever it is that you're in and get you into something that much better. All right, welcome back. We won't sit here and lollygag. We'll go ahead and dive right into the questions that were submitted. Again, this week we're doing 4. Next week we're doing 4. The week after that we're doing 4. In December we're starting brand new and fresh. So one question that I received a number of times from listeners via DM and email is, how do you know if your partner truly loves you? And let me just say a little disclaimer. I am not a relationship expert. I am by far any kind of relationship expert. I've just spent a lot of time in therapy and trying to learn from my lessons. And I guess that from those of you who have listened to previous episodes, you found some type of comfort in me sharing my experiences or sharing my opinion, and you want to go ahead and ask the question, and then I provide my opinion on what I think how I would present it in my own personal life. I am by no stretch of the imagination a professional. If you have any type of in-depth questions, or if you're really struggling, I highly recommend reaching out to a professional for assistance. And I will put some links in the description of this particular episode in the next couple of episodes for those who want to seek professional help. Just a disclaimer, because girl, I'm out here struggling just like you are. Anyway, how do I know if my partner truly loves me? So when I think about that for myself, if I'm asking myself, how do I know if this man loves me? And I say man for me, but we don't discriminate over here. Man, woman, them, they, her, she, whatever. Do you? I would say I'm more of an action girl. Like, I could give a damn about what you tell me. What are you showing me? What can I sit back at the end of the day and think about, wow, he really did this, or wow, he cares about me because he did that. I need to see that. Love is often shown more clearly through behavior and effort, such as being supportive or being respectful or someone being attentive to your needs. Most people who don't care about you, or you can actually care about somebody and do these things, but it's not coming from a loving place. So one, you have to give it time. Allow your person time and space before you start asking the question of, does this person really love me? A lot of people are like, oh, I've been in a relationship for 2 months and I know he loves me, or I know she loves me, or they. Do you really? Because I would beg to differ. You may think that you love someone, but you have to go through hard shit and come out on the other side before you can really know for sure. Like, love needs to be tested and survive. And a lot of times, love is what will get you through the hard times. It'll make you make exceptions for dumb shit or bullshit, and it'll allow you more opportunity for empathy, and it'll help feed your patience and your understanding. Like, you tend to stretch yourself a little bit thinner for someone who you genuinely love. But you can also love a friend and have those same types of emotions. But the differentiation between friendship, loving, your homegirl, your homeboy, your best friend, versus your partner or the person you're in a relationship with, it's not just about the sexuality of it all. It comes from a different place. It looks different. It really, and you can feel it. Like, you just know, like, this person really loves me, and I can tell. When someone really loves you, it's obvious. It's obvious. So you can't always go by what someone says, because people lie as long as the day is long. Well, I guess we can't use that now because we're in daylight savings and it gets dark at 4 o'clock. But you get what I'm saying. Often another time is when your person, I have a meeting soon, when your person openly talks about expectations that they have for the future, and it sounds honest, and they're being vulnerable in these conversations. That can reveal a lot about the depth of the other person's feelings, just based upon future thoughts and aspirations. And we're not talking about someone who shoots smoke up your ass. We're talking about someone who's actually in it for the long haul. You can tell that they mean what they say and they say what they mean. Question number 2, how can we get better at communication or improve our communication overall? Practice and actively listening. A lot of people listen with the intention to respond instead of listening to actually hear what the person is telling you. So when we listen with the intention to respond, we only hear key points. We hear key triggering words that invoke some type of emotion in us that makes us want to respond. And oftentimes we will interrupt the other person when they're talking to get our word in edgewise. In all actuality, the best way to communicate is just to pause and listen. And sometimes if you have to, if your memory is bad, take notes. Like, can we record this conversation just so we can come back and look at it or listen to it later on? Can we record this conversation because it may get heated and I don't want to end in a bad space? So let's just get it all out, lay it all out right now, and then come back to it when we're in a calm space. Or write it down. Some people are good at writing it down. I am a writer. I will write my emotions down. I'm not good at speaking them, but I will write them down. And I will send my man a note. Like, look, this is what it is. Now, if I'm truly pissed, then I'm going to say it. Right? But I never want to hurt someone's feelings. Like, I don't do that on purpose. Now, if you're poking a bear and you get bit, that's different. But I never want to intentionally hurt anyone's feelings. So I will write it down, see how I feel about it, and then go back and look at it and see if it's even worth it. Sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes we're just tripping and it's not even worth talking about. Or you can bring it up later and be like, you know what, I was mad about this, but I realized I was tripping. So that way they know that it happened and they know that it was, it caused you to react in a certain way, and they may adjust and not have that happen in the future. So it can be beneficial in that way as well. You want to express your thoughts and feelings clearly and respectfully without blame or judgment. So instead of saying, well, because you did this and you did that, and when we was going over there and you said this and you did this, and stop. Change the statement to I. Even changing your statement to I doesn't mean that you're taking on full responsibility, but it helps somewhere in the brain. It does something to where when someone hears I statements, it helps them focus on your feelings rather than accusing you or criticizing you. So it's like, oh, I don't know the science. You want to look that up yourself. But I've read many studies back in the day, and I actually read one not too long ago about how I statements work in the place of employment. Like when we're communicating, as we all know, or I talked about before, I do HR. So as we're communicating with employees or managers or executives or whatever, using I statements, especially for those who have that godlike complex, helps them to understand and process new things that we're trying to implement within the business. That also works in relationships and friendships and even the way that we communicate with our children. Another tip I would say is to schedule time to talk about, like take a review, like schedule a check-in or some type of dedicated time to talk about your relationship so that you both feel understood and heard. A monthly check-in, like you know that you go on dates once a week, once every 2 weeks, a couple times a week, depending on where you are in your relationship. You know, some families yield different schedules, but you should always date your partner no matter what's going on. And once a month or once every 2 months, you schedule it and you're like, yo, let's take a look back and see what were our wins, what were our losses, how do we want to be better, how could we have communicated better, how could we have handled that situation better? Because everything is clear in hindsight. When we get insight from a hindsight, right? So that's not just within our own personal journeys, that's also in our shared journeys with other people. And you can do it with your kids. Like, how can I be a better parent? Let me know. Like, what can I do better to make our relationship better? It works both ways. Another question that we received, we being me, is, I wrote it down. Let me find it. How can I be sure that my partner is committed to our relationship? My first instinct was to say, you can never really 100% without a shadow of a doubt be sure. You can be married for 20 years and end up with divorce. I talked about that in one of my earlier episodes, how a friend of mine is going through divorce and he's been married for, I think he told me it was 15 years, over 10 for sure. Never in a million years did they think they were going to get divorced. I know some other friends who were married for 20 years. They got married when we were really young, but they were married for 20 years and then they ended up getting divorced as well. So as far as commitment, what do you mean? I guess I need a clarifying statement. Do you mean committed to the right now, committed to the long term, committed to taking care of your kids, committed to taking care of you? What is commitment? How do you define commitment? So in order to have an answer, do you really know the type of commitment that you're looking for? Because a committed partner is willing to make sacrifices for the relationship and prioritizes the other person's happiness and well-being. That doesn't mean that they negate their own, but the priority is evident. You know that someone is committed to you when you are a priority to them, like you're top tier in their life. They include you in the future plans if you're not married, and they also indicate that they see you as part of their long-term life. You've been integrated into their families if there's children involved. And you know that they are the type of person who does not have anyone meet their children, because these days you can meet somebody's mama, all their kids, they baby mamas, they baby daddies, whatever the case may be. And that doesn't mean anything. Absolutely nothing. However, for someone who does not have that way of living and they have a deeper moral compass and they're selective about who they introduce to those who are important to them, you can use that as a point of measure. You also want to make sure that there's mutual respect, trust, support, and admiration. Those are also strong indicators that a person is committed to you. If someone doesn't respect your boundaries, if they don't trust your decisions, and they don't support your ambitions, that's not someone who is committed. And I said that in the more negative space because we talked about that in a previous episode. You can definitely check that out. Where a big red flag when it comes to commitment is, does the person support your dreams and your goals? Because how are they going to be committed to you if they don't allow you the room to be the best version of yourself or to do the work that you need to find happiness within yourself? Commitment is a large topic to tackle, and I truly believe that it looks different for different people. So the first thing I would suggest is you finding out what commitment means to you down to a granular level. Then asking your partner, what does commitment mean to him, her, or they? And then see if you both are on the same page. And if not, is it something that you can compromise on? Are there things that need to be changed, or does the relationship need to sever? The last question we're going to tackle this week is, how do I know if we have what it takes to last? Are we compatible in the long run? Who the hell knows? The version of you today is not going to be the version of you in 5 years. Are you committed to the relationship? It goes back to commitment. And it goes back to communication. If you're committed and you start to feel changes, are you going to communicate said changes and then be committed to work through so that you can find a resolution? So some tricks or whatever, some things to consider are to assess your values, your life goals, your shared interests. What do you agree on? What do you disagree on? Is there any wiggle room to find an area where you can compromise? Do you align with major life decisions and values? Because if you have major decisions that you need to make and you're not aligned, it can cause a wrench. How do you resolve conflict? Have you gone through stuff already? Like real life stuff? Have you gone through the 4 seasons of life? And if so, how did you manage it? If not, I would suggest you wait until you go through some stuff. If everything's been shits and giggles and unicorns and rainbows, you need to tackle some hard stuff before you decide to truly commit. Because life, when it starts lifing, can knock you on your ass, and then you will see who's actually committed and who's going to hold you down. Another thing that's common that we need to consider these days that I don't think was considered in the past is, how do you handle stress? How do you handle anxiety if you have anxiety? Because life will inevitably, I cannot get that word out today, but y'all know what I mean, bring difficulties. And being compatible in how you navigate these challenges is so important. Being compatible in the way that you communicate. And then communication, when it comes to challenges, needs to be more on a level of understanding, because you can have different communication styles, but if your partner is understanding of your style and respects your process, then that can still work even if it's different. So allowing each other to be individuals, individuality and acceptance of such is key when it comes to long-term relationships. Now, I can have a long-term relationship. I can say that historically, I have not been big on commitment, but that stems from childhood trauma, and I'm currently working on that. So some of the stuff that I share with you today comes from my own personal therapy, because I'm trying really hard to get on the other side of that and find trust and rely and have the ability to rely on others. So we'll see how that goes. But one thing you have to remember is every relationship is unique. And this is just my opinion on how I would look at the scenarios and situations if they were me. Next week, we're going to dive into 4 more questions. They're a little bit more dicey, a little bit more sexy, but we're not going to shy away from that, because we can learn from anything, even getting down to the nitty gritty, right? So that's it. And that's all for this week. Thank you for giving me your time today. And I hope to see you again next week, or I hope for you to hear from me next week. Just tune in, girl. Just tune in. Always remember to let the lessons of yesterday be the stepping stones to an amazing tomorrow. Peace.